Okay, welcome into our summer solstice and Cancer season gathering. I'm very excited to have everyone here. We will get started here today, but just know if you're watching the replay, you're definitely still part of this as well. And I'm gonna just dive in and share a little bit about where we're at with Cancer season. We're just gonna kind of like walk through where we're at, what we can expect for the month ahead with this new zodiac sign. I do have a PowerPoint where that just kind of helps me stay on track, but we might use all of it, we might use none of it, and all of that is absolutely okay. So before we begin, I would definitely encourage you to have a piece of pen and paper, and we'll talk a little bit more about how this kind of unfolds, but really some of these things we're going to be talking about, they're going to be touching into some of the deeper layers of our feminine experience. And so the first time that we walk through and you hear it, just like taking those notes just for your own self, your own processing, any like insights, connections, anything that you receive from your intuitive guidance that's like, oh, maybe this is a step I want to take or something I want to journal on later. Those things, how you experience this and what comes up for you and those notes that you take is going to be just as much a part of this as anything that I share as well. So I am going to go ahead and just get started with our presentation, just to have like some imagery and some anchoring here. All right. Oops. It's very touchy. So here we are at the beginning of Cancer season. And I'm really excited to kind of walk through this journey, guide through this journey, see what comes up here. What I have here is kind of the template that's going to guide us, but there's definitely going to be some room for some practice, some reflection, some conversation, however that all comes up as well. But why really excited to gather and to just share this at this time is because we're going to talk about this, but when we're moving through the wheel of the year and through many other of our feminine cycles, right when we're on the cusp of something between one thing ending and one thing beginning, that's really when we're standing at a threshold. And the summer solstice is one of those thresholds that really marks a pivotal point, a turn of the year, a new season. And the very first zodiac sign coinciding is Cancer season. And why this is so exciting to dive into is because Cancer really represents all things feminine. And we're going to talk more about what that means and how that relates to us as women. But don't just think of this summer solstice as your initiation into a new season of the summer ahead. This really is an initiation into our personal and collective journeys to explore what lies ahead with Cancer, with Leo, and with Virgo that all make up this season of summer as well. So the very first thing that I like to do is kind of orient us to time, place, and space. There's been a lot of energy moving around astrologically with a lot of individual stories people have been talking to in my circle and clients, and sometimes what we're really doing here as women is we are very tapped into energy. And a lot of times what we're perceiving as a multidimensional woman is past, present, and future energy kind of all at once. something will come up and we're telling ourselves a story of our past, or maybe we've been doing a lot of inner work where we've been going backwards a little bit. We always have kind of the current energy individually in our lives and also in the collective. And then we're also a lot of times as women tapping into what is coming in. To what is coming into the field. We're kind of have that energy where we can intuitively feel what's coming in. And the energy of past and present and future is all just swirling around inside our inner realms and our inner experience. And a lot of what we aim to do here is give name, give meaning, and give some more clarity and purpose to help you sort out all of these energies and really understand what is on offer for us here when we start to tap into the field, follow the astrology, and really just orient ourselves to this present moment. So as I said, when we're on this threshold, this is a season of transformation and transition, where we're moving into that initiation of Cancer season, but we're also moving through the archetypal wheel of the year. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit with this summer quarter. So where we've been. For many of us, we have been in this deep period of endings, of really unearthing parts of ourselves, parts of our story, and even parts of our karma, our lineage, and some of these deep wounds that have just been living inside of us for a long time. And a big part of that is we have to bring things up to the surface, up to our awareness, in order to respond differently, in order to feel into it, in order to integrate it into who we are, and then choose how to move forward in new ways. And what I love about astrology, astroenergetics, it's really the study of energy patterns. Astrology, I always say, it doesn't dictate, it doesn't determine. What it does is it shows us a pattern, it shows us an archetype of energy, and how we choose to show up to that pattern is part of our sovereignty, is part of how we really get to flow with the energy and invite it in and let it kind of wash over us and lead us into wherever we are on our personal and collective journey. And so just as a reminder, we've talked about this quite a bit here in the last few days, but this was the year of the snake. 2025 is a numerology 9 year, which is about completion and mastery. And just where we are in the collective timeline of humanity, we've been closing out a lot of cycles and chapters and timelines and ways of being. But anytime we're at the ending, all of the shadow is going to come up to be healed, to be released. One of the things I really want to focus on is what's really been happening with a lot of the transits for the last 6 months is we've been balancing a lot of masculine and feminine energy. So what I mean by that, all of the placements in astrology have masculine or feminine kind of dominance, and most of our transits that we've had here have been really asking us to figure out and to find where our balance between our masculine self and our feminine self really lies. So what I mean by that is we would have a very masculine placement transiting in a very feminine astro transit. And then vice versa. we have, okay, I've been working with fire a lot and I had like a little sage burning and it just like burned a little more than I probably would like. So sorry for that distraction, which is good. We're talking about Shakti energy. We're talking about the year of the snake. We're talking about alchemical transformation. So this balance of feminine and masculine is really what we're going through collectively. And how that shows up for us as women is rewriting our relationship with our feminine. That's really what we're here to do at this time. And when we come into where we are currently in Cancer season, in the summer solstice is a balance of light and dark, which can also be seen as a balance between solar and lunar, masculine and feminine. And so where we are at this threshold is we're really being asked to take everything that's been cleansing, releasing, falling away, and really flip over into a new time and a new way of relating to Cancer, to the mother, and to the journey ahead, so that we can integrate and show up in new ways. And I've had kind of a prediction in astrology for some time that this particular Cancer season, it is going to be very deep. It is going to bring up parts of not just who we are, but our entire story and understanding as women, which also includes our lineage as women, the generations that came before. And it's asking us to really dive into this story and this relationship with feminine, the mother, and with womanhood, so that we can move forward in a new way. We have a lot of Cancer placements, particularly Jupiter in Cancer, which we've already been transiting in. And that is really asking us to expand what Cancer is, to expand our capacity and our understanding for what the feminine is, and to also expand and shine a light, a full light on our relationship with the archetype of Cancer, which is the mother. And these might mirror some things that you've been feeling and experiencing. And when we start to unearth these things together in this way, this is actually how we kind of start the process of shifting our relationship. And so how I want to begin this, I do a lot of divining, so using intuitive tools like pulling cards, all kinds of things like that to help create this experience and help mirror back what it is that we're diving into here. And last night, or this one actually I pulled a few days ago, this was a card that just fell out of the deck, and when I was working on this, and I just feel like it really captures. And I like to bring in other tools and other things so that you're not just hearing my voice, you're hearing other parts that we can navigate together. So the card that I pulled, it's
Amanda,
oh yeah?
sorry to interrupt you. I can't see your like face at all. I can only see,
Oh, really?
yeah, and
Let me
maybe
see.
I'm doing something wrong. I don't know if you're showing us things. I just can't see. I can only see your screen. That makes sense, like the presentation.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Let me
It
do,
might be, oh, okay, never mind. Okay, I think I got it.
because I have,
Yep, I got it.
well, let me share again. I stopped sharing, so I
Okay.
want to make sure, whoops.
I can see both right now.
You can see my face and this
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
screen. Beautiful. Thank you for saying something. I really do not like it when
Sorry, I
screen
don't,
staring at you.
it's probably my error.
No, that's perfect. So I'm actually going to take off of the screen for a little bit and just talk about this. I know it doesn't like blur the best, but it's the sea serpent card. So you can see it's like a sea serpent, so it's kind of like the snake, like we just talked about, and this wheel of the snake. And this represents the Ouroboros, like the snake eating its own tail, which is really about this death rebirth cycles that we've been going through. And it's really about rewriting our understanding of all of the cycles that come and go through nature. And what this card is really about is really capturing the essence of what Cancer is. So healing emotional wounds and expressing desires. It's all about expression. It's all about how we express ourselves without fear or shame. It's all about wanting our hearts to feel at ease, not just in our relationships, but within who we are as women. It's loosening the grip of self-judgment and allowing the cool waters of forgiveness in to heal our wounds and our wombs. Because this card rules the sacral chakra, which is the womb center, which is where we carry a lot of our wounds, a lot of our lineage, a lot of our trauma is in the sacral and is in the reproductive system. And so that's something we're going to talk about a little bit more, but I just kind of wanted to lead with the energy of that card and the water element, which is going to be guiding us as well. So as far as orienting where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, let me see. I kind of just want to go back into this here. So let's just dive more into this Cancer energy and this Cancer archetype. If you're familiar or not familiar, we've been already kind of tapping into and talking about this. Cancer represents all of the divine feminine archetypes. It is ruled by the moon, and the moon really is our feminine self, that you think of the lunar part of us, the feminine part of us, like those watery, intuitive realms of our emotions and our moods, the depth and the feeling that we dive into, that we can tap into as women, and definitely our intuition, which is all kind of coincided with how we move through our lunar cycles and how we move through Cancer season. So this is going to be a really big focus of the month ahead. Cancer are also ruling the water element. So when you think about Cancer, you want to associate it with water. And what do we think about with water, right? It's flowing, it's moving. Sometimes it is deep like the ocean, and sometimes it is like part of our tears. And so the water element is really about forgiveness, cleansing. Water can be nourishing and healing. Water helps us release and clean things away. And then the Cancer sign is also ruled by the 4th house. And when we start to bring the houses in, it gives this much, much, much deeper meaning to the sign. So what I've said about Cancer and all of those things are probably things that you've maybe heard before. But when we layer in the 4th house is about everything that Cancer represents, but it's also about our roots. It's also about our lineage, our ancestry, our family, our home, and not just the home that we tend to or we grew up in or we create for ourselves outside. It's also like how safe and emotionally nourished do we feel in the home of our body. And when we think about, Cancer as the mother, it makes sense that this 4th house is really all about the home and the family and the foundation that is built from this. And like said, with this mother archetype, we think of nurturing, protection, boundaries, in its highest form, unconditional love and service. And we're definitely going to be diving into the archetype of the mother today, how it ties into Cancer. And like we've been talking about, this is really our initiation into this archetypal wheel of the year. So one of the things that I want to talk about is this healing, this lineage, this healing, this foundation, and really diving in. So why I feel like this Cancer season in particular is going to be, yes, all of those qualities that we just talked about, but I also think it is going to be asking more of us than a normal Cancer season. And what I've seen and what I've experienced coming up a lot is we're really going to be tapping into this lineage healing. I really do feel that the women who are here at this time, especially if you're like connected to the same energy, maybe even around the same age, and where we are in the timeline of humanity, this is the generation of women that came here to be the cycle breakers. This is the generation of women that came here to really redefine what we want our feminine healing lineage to be. And, you know, when we think about lineage, we go backwards to our ancestors. But what I really see that this whole year of the snake is, that this whole timeline closing and beginning again of what we're really being asked to walk into, starting with this threshold of where we are right now in Cancer season and the summer solstice, is we are the new ancestors. What we do at this time in our journeys is what we will pass down, and what we're evolving in humanity and in our story of womanhood is we're being asked to do things differently in a way that they've really never fully been done or never been done on this scale before. And that is a really powerful, expansive thing to step in. And I know some of you can already connect to this, right? You've been being asked to contend with your roots, the root of who you are. And there's been a lot coming up when we've been balancing this masculine and feminine. There's been a lot coming up with the mother and the father, with our parents or our grandparents, our lineage. And why it's coming up is because we're here to break the cycle, to choose a new pattern, to understand that our lineage brings us up and makes us who we are. But at some point, we can just take the wisdom that we've learned from that, leave the rest, and decide what we want our lineage to be now moving forward instead. That's really what the cycle breaking is all about. And pulling cards this morning, first card I pulled was the cycle breaker. And we will get through it. We just need to know that there are a lot of cycles ending as much as there are new roots, new lineages, new cycles beginning as well. And that's really going to be what's going to probably come up for a lot of people, if it hasn't already, over this Cancer season. So when we connect to Cancer, we're going to kind of use the term Cancer and Mother interchangeably as we walk through this feminine archetypal journey. Just know that they have their own meanings and they have shared meanings as well. But one of the ways that we start to connect to, tap into this Cancer Mother energy is understanding the feminine. And if we're going to be really diving into this, when we think of the feminine, what represents this to me is the rose. Like, even when I say the rose, there's usually like this little feeling that comes up, or you can think about what a rose smells like. And we really love this idea of the rose. When we talk about the feminine, like its beauty, its scent, its softness. But one of the things that I really aim to do is help us find the fullness and the balance of everything that unfolds with this. So as much as our desire is for the rose, we have to remember you cannot get to the rose without the thorns. You have to tend the garden, which is very much mother energy, sustaining energy. We're going to talk about this a little bit more as well. You have to kind of put in the work to toil the soil, to weed, to water, to pull out and decide what stays and what goes. If you're going to grow a rose bush, it's not really until the end that we get to see what's come to fruition with the bloom of the rose. And that part of the feminine healing is, cannot be separated from this image of the rose and what we really feel connected to as the feminine. Sometimes we need to do a lot of untangling in all of this before we can even get to the bloom. So for me, communing with rose is a big thing that really helps me connect to the feminine. And I'm always like developing my morning spiritual practice based on whatever's coming up for me. And I've really been feeling this Mother Cancer energy. And so I kind of get these instructions from my inner wisdom. And so for about the last 2.5 weeks, I've been taking a walk pretty much every morning at 5:30. And I go out in my neighborhood, in my home, in my community, and there's this beautiful wild rose bush like in the middle of a square. And I've been sitting with the rose for a long time. And 2 days ago, as I was preparing for this, when we work with plant medicine, we always want to ask permission. And it was the first day that it said I could take something. So right before we dove into this journey, I kind of was able to not just smell the rose and see the rose and sit with the rose. I was really able to, receive from the rose as far as taking a bloom. And what really made me be thinking about this, I know roses have thorns. I've been sitting and looking at this, this beautiful rose bush for about 2 weeks. But I went to pick the rose and I still got pricked. And when we get into some of this feminine healing, and especially when it comes to the Mother Archetype, the first time you reach for it, you might meet the thorns first. But as you learn and as you show up with it more and more and more, you will learn how to more carefully navigate, or you will learn that how we tend the garden and what we trim away is all part of what we can reach and tap into with this rose. And with everything, what I want to say about this lineage healing and what we're going to be diving into, this is how we choose and embody a new way forward, not just for what we want for ourselves, but what I find with lineage healing and feminine healing and archetypal healing, everything that we're going to root down into on this journey together, is it heals who we are, but it also heals backwards and forwards. And so what I mean by that is when we as women take that radical responsibility to be the courageous cycle breaker, to touch on the wounds that were really, carried for a long time, but too difficult to face, which is what so many of us are doing. Your healing work is the courageous lineage healing work. And we know that that's what shifts who we are as women and as a person. And we can see how that will trickle down into the future generations, whether you're a mother or not. But what I've found with working with archetypes, which is what we're going to dive into, and when you claim this healing for yourself, it doesn't just heal forwards, it heals backwards. It heals the lineage that came before, no matter how far up the line that it is, because this is what it means to be multidimensional and archetypal. These parts of ourselves that we're really craving to tap into as women, it's like when you start to heal, it just creates this ripple effect outward in your family, in your groups, and in the community. And that's really where, when we meet the thorns and it gets a little sticky, it gets a little uncomfortable, those are some of the things that sometimes can bring up the courage for us to keep going and keep exploring and moving forward. So within the context of full woman rising, there's many layers to this, but everything that I'm here to teach you is that you already have a lot of this innate wisdom of how to navigate all of this within. And what I'm really here to teach is the parts that were really lost in our feminine initiations. How to live in connection with our feminine nature and our intuition and our cycles and our energy. Because as we've moved forward in humanity, this has really been the imbalance in our story as women, is not having a community to connect us with, to guide us through, to learn from, to hold space for who we are as women and how we relate to the feminine. And we can look around in our world and see that there's a huge imbalance in the feminine. There's a huge imbalance in how we show up or have been taught or told to show up as women. And what I have to say about that is we can hold a healing intention for the world, for womanhood, for all of humanity, but it always begins with ourselves. Because what I heal in me, I'm holding the template for healing in the collective. The work that you do for your individual journey, that's what I'm saying, it ripples outwards and it changes what is possible in the collective conscious. And so when you start to learn how to work with your feminine, it's healing you, it's healing your lineage, and it's really healing the world. And what I find is women have a very deep yearning to do this, but we have not been taught how to do this in our modern day society. And so that's a really big part of what Full Woman Rising is here to do, is help us reinitiate, help us reconnect, and help us re-explore who we are as women, not just where we've been, not just who we are now, but to come together and decide what we want this to be as we move forward. And so I'm just gonna see where we wanna go from here. I'm gonna leave that there. I think what I wanna do is just take a moment to pause here. Like, we've kind of oriented, we've kind of been leading the journey. A lot of times, just because so much of this is maybe new information, it takes us a while to build up into the journey, just like building a fire. Like, we've got to light it, and then we've got to get the kindling going, and then we're going to get stoking, and then we're going to have this flame. So now that we've kind of oriented a little bit to where we've been, we're going to do a somatic practice and have you orient to this moment in time and space. So I'm just going to invite you, wherever you are, just to kind of sit back, get into a comfortable seat, and we're just going to walk through a little bit of orienting to this time and space. So I'm going to first ask you just to close your eyes. And just start noticing and connecting with the breath. Just taking note of where you're planted in this moment. Feeling your sits bones connected to the chair, the bed, the earth, wherever you're at. Sinking a little deeper into wherever you're planted. And starting to build our roots. And I want you to now just notice as you root down any sensations that come up in the body. Just observing and noticing any parts that are moving or still, anything that feels light or heavy. Maybe there's some movement that needs to be taken, a deeper breath. Just starting to connect and orient within. And go ahead and deepen the breath. Maybe there's a part of you that you need to send your breath to or breathe a little deeper within. Maybe there's a part of you that you can feel kind of rising up to the surface. And just use the breath to meet yourself or meet that part exactly where you are. Take a deep breath in and a long sigh out. Another deep breath in. Release everything out. And now I want you to picture the roots that you are planted wherever you're planted, and just let that root grow down into the floor beneath you. So roots coming from the base of the spine, maybe from the legs or feet, starting to root down and move around you. And now I want you to picture a taproot from the core of the earth, coming up through the ground and coming up to meet your roots. So the strong, nourishing taproot coming up and up and up from the base of the earth and meeting with and connecting with the roots that you've grown from your base. Just let them touch each other and meet each other here. Knowing that your roots, your earth, your foundation is always connected to this pulse of the earth, to the roots beneath the roots, to the grounded nourishment and foundation beneath you. Take one more deep breath in and out. I'm going to gently blink the eyes open. Before we move around, I just want you to open your eyes and just with your eyes alone, just start to look around at your space. So look around at any of your surroundings, seeing where you want to focus. Maybe you want to look far away. Maybe you want to look at what's right in front of you. Just orienting to this time, space, and place that you are in. And then coming back here together. So part of this feminine embodiment is we're learning new things and we're doing some teaching here, but we want to keep coming back to the embodiment piece. Women heal through their senses. We heal through tapping into the unseen, to our intuition, to the divine, like cosmic channel. Through the earth and the cosmos, we are the bridge between. And part of this feminine healing, we usually come in with information through the mind. We start to integrate through the body, and that helps us then connect to our deeper heart and soul. And this is really kind of the pattern that we're going to follow. We're going to give information, we're going to come back within connect, and then we're going to invite your soul wisdom to help lead the way forward. One of the things I've mentioned a few times, this idea of archetypes, and this is what we're really going to get into. I have really found that working with archetypes is the doorway into healing a lot of these feminine aspects of ourself, especially the ones that are buried beneath layers of conditioning or trauma or, programming about what it should or shouldn't be. And an archetype is really, it's kind of a representation of the human experience. It is a symbol of a part of our human psyche. And it is something we can assign meaning to, a shared meaning to, but it also has its own energy that ebbs and flows, that grows and releases. And I almost like to think of an archetype like we would think of a person, right? A person, we can have a basic understanding of who they are, but that person has a full spectrum. Sometimes they're showing up as their higher self and their best self. Sometimes they're showing up in their wounds and their shadows and their limitations and everything between. And that's really how archetypes work as well. They are a full spectrum of a certain part of who we are. We're going to talk about this more, but when we learn through archetypes, it really depersonalizes whatever is going on. And instead of it feeling like this is just who I am, you will start to understand, to know, to learn these archetypes, these parts of yourself, and it will create a relationship where instead of just thinking, oh my gosh, this is just me, it's like, there's that part again. There's that archetype coming up. Yes, it's me, but it's also separate, and we can see it differently. We can form a different relationship, And that is how I really think a lot of the doorways into our feminine identity are able to be held by archetypes. Again, we're going to deep dive more into all of this, but just understanding that even to speak in these ways and to use these feminine tools is a different way of approaching this reclamation of the feminine and healing our lineage. And women also heal with storytelling when we can see ourselves in another and in circle and community with one another. And that's really what we're recultivating here, is a space where we can sit in circle and community. Okay, so with that, we're gonna dive into this archetypal wheel. I'm not sure if need like a little bio break or doing okay. You can always do that at this time if you just need a little bit of a break. See? Otherwise, we're gonna just keep moving through here.
I'm good to keep moving as long as you are.
Okay, thanks for that. I would just ask, is there like any piece of information that really stuck out, like in your notes or a word or anything like that that really resonated?
Um, I mean, for sure, for me, I think Cycle Breaker definitely is like a very powerful and feels like it aligns with where I'm at and what I'm going through. And then specifically with the Cancer season and just the mother wound and the mother healing the mother energy and working with that energy, I think is very just aligned with what I am going through right now. I feel like I've never been necessarily in a place where, other than like right now, where I've been able to navigate it in with a clear mind. You know what I mean? So I feel like it, to me, it seems like right now is just like the perfect time for everything to be being fully like accepted and worked through. So yeah, I think just like hearing that was just like confirmation that this is exactly what's meant to happen right now. And yeah, I think that I've always felt the cycle breaker energy. And it's just like validating to know that one, there's other people similar that are going through similar experiences, and there are tools, and it's not, it's just it's just what has to be right now to get to where we need to go. So I don't know, that would be my answer.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is just beautiful. We're going to talk about expression, the role of expressing ourselves in healing this mother archetype. So
Yeah.
even you just speaking that out, it's expressing. And so you're really resonating with that, where we were, where we are, and where we're going, of feeling like it's a different cycle now.
Yeah. I also think too, I've always had mothering energy, but specifically lately I've been feeling like I want to mother more. I'm feeling like I want to, like I always felt intimidated by having plants, like real plants, because I was like, well, and I'm gonna have to take care of them. But I'm literally surrounded by a bunch of flowers. I have a bunch of indoor plants now too. And that's like, I don't know, it's nourishing for me to water them and care for them. Whereas I don't think I was necessarily in a place where I wanted to do that previously. And yeah, I love mothering my dogs, and I I feel like I haven't really felt ready to be a mother until recently. So that's another like shift that I feel like is happening through healing those parts of myself.
I absolutely love that. This is so amazing. Like those things that are coming up, that's what we're going to be talking about. It's like, okay, I know mothers can be a difficult relationship and we
Yeah.
feel it and it comes up and there's just so many layers to get through. And that's kind of what I'm saying with these archetypes and these, the rose and the thorns. It's like we know it's there, but it takes a lot to even like start to pull a thread of it,
Yeah.
right? And so that's really what we want to do here is talk about some of the different parts of what is going to help. How do we just start to pull a thread? And
Yeah.
once you just start to pull a thread, the next piece will come, the next piece will come, and the next piece will come. And I'm kind of trying to think where we want to go from here because what you just said, we're going to talk about when you said, I do find myself like now I'm nourishing my plants and I'm mothering my dogs and I'm mothering in this way. That is really the essence of how we tap into this is we start to embody the mother archetype ourselves, but we also have to kind of contend with a few different layers of that archetype, one of which is the sustainer. And the sustainer is the part that I talked about that I want roses. Okay, but do you also want to work in the garden every day and
Right.
cultivate them? Oh, I
Right.
really want this business. Okay, but are you sustaining it? Are you nourishing it? Are you
Yeah.
doing all the tasks? Because in mother, I mean, we can talk for years about the mother archetype. I really just want to get a few layers deep to start to open it up. But like that part of the mother energy is like what we call chop wood and carry water. It's picking up the laundry, it's setting the bedtime, it's, like setting the boundaries of what we need to do and keep everybody safe. It's showing up even when we don't feel like it. And all of those things that you just said are you shifting your relationship with mother. And I find, we always have this archetype and it's always like living and breathing through us, but we're usually led to work with archetypes at different times in our life and in our healing and spiritual journey. That's kind of coming back to what we said at the beginning. When you follow this wheel of the year, which is probably what I'm going to show you next, the energy, the cosmic energy, the collective energy, the spiritual energy, the divine feminine energy, it is like on offer for us in this Cancer season. So when we start working with what the energy is coming up, you can work on this anytime. And I'm going to tell you, this will be a lifelong journey for every woman. But right now, it's like right in our hearts. It's right at the surface. And it's right here where we're going to be able to just tap into this archetype very, very intimately and probably in a way that is really exalted, nourishing, expansive as well.
I have a little bit like a tiny little personal story that I wanted to
Yeah, please
share.
share. That's that
So,
storytelling.
um, it was yesterday, I think, or Thursday. Thursday, I went to do a marketplace pickup for my booth,
Yep.
and on the way, I haven't really been in contact with my mom a ton, and that's just been what I needed. That's okay. But I did like feel like I wanted to call her and just with no expectations, just tell her that I love her and that's it. And I feel like I was in like a good headspace to not like just to literally accept it for exactly what it was, like with no, I don't know. You know what I mean? Just to like say those words, accept everything as it is, and be able to carry on with my day. And I feel like that is something that has taken work for me, but also has kind of been new that I've been feeling with what's, I think, the energy that's going on. So, anyways, it ended up being like, it was fine, said those words, we moved on. And literally 15, 20 minutes later, when I went to go get my marketplace items, I had this like older lady, and she had some like wiener dogs, and they were like barking at me, and she was apologizing, and I was like, no, I love dogs. So I was like petting them, and she was like, I actually have 9 5-week-old puppies inside. If you want to see them, you would be the first to see them. And I felt like it was like this weird like reward in a way from the universe for like just doing what felt right, but also like being able to not have expectations and just like be in a healthy space with my mom in just how I like executed, just like telling her that I love her with no, you know what I mean? Like, so I felt like instead of me just like not acknowledging, and I'm not mad at her, but I just needed space from it. I just was at a place where I felt like I could say those words to her and not expect anything from it. So, anyways, I just felt like it was like a weird little like gift that I was given right after that. And it was like the best thing ever. They were so cute. So, anyways, that was my little story. To me, it felt like a little message of like, here's a gift for you now. You know what I mean?
I thank you so much for sharing this story. I'm so excited because I know, when we're talking about this, I know it's like these pieces of information, but then we want to stop and help them come to life.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're saying. And this is like that archetype, and you're like prefacing a lot of the stuff we're going to dive into, which I'm like, okay, we are just like so on track, and that makes me really excited.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. Like those things. So that's what I mean when I say an archetype, because it's so much more. And we're going to talk about this than just, oh, mother, my relationship with my mom. No, it's an energy. And we see mothering and can experience mothering energy in so many different ways. So you're absolutely, what you're like feeling and sensing, like, oh, I just feel like that was connected. Like, absolutely. I chose to show up in my healed mother archetype, giving the love that I wanted to receive.
It's also
Yeah.
interesting. I thought of this. She she only had females, and she's like she doesn't breed full time or anything, but she likes her dogs and they have a good lineage. Is that what you know?
Yeah.
And so, and they're healthy and they live a very long time and they have good uh personalities, like they're not reactive or anything. So, anyways, she has 4 females. 2 of them are too old to like, she doesn't breed them anymore or anything. But um, she was telling me that even the ones that don't have the puppies, they all mother the puppies. So they're like, it was so cute because she had a gate separating. She just was like, if you want to see the puppies, I'm gonna put them separate from the puppies right now. And they were all watching, like, what's going on? And like, they're all protective. They're all being the mothers, whether they are the mothers or actually or not. But it was just like, it's so funny because speaking of mothers, they were literally the mothers, you know?
Mm.
So that I just thought of that. Like, I don't know.
That's amazing. And yeah, it's mothering energy. And I'm really glad you brought that up. Like we're gonna like work our way eventually. But when we're talking about mother, and this is the archetype, right? You don't have to be a mother to be a mother.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Like we absolutely honor the strong, empowered women who are physical mothers giving birth. And a part of the shift of this archetype, rewriting the story of this, is, we all hold the archetypes within us. We hold mother within us. And what I see is part of this shift, this collective shift of where we're going, is many more women are going to be called not to just be physical mothers, and I don't mean just, but their path of mothering may not be with children. Their path of mothering might be mothering communities, mothering creations, mothering purpose and service into the world, mothering art, mothering everyone around them, that may or may not, be of relationship. And that is a big thing. I know a lot of women in this cycle breaking, it's like, do I want to be a mother? Do I not? Where do I go? Some of us can't, be mothers, but any of those circumstances, whether you experience it firsthand through birthing and children and all of that beautiful and messy and, all of that brings with motherhood, you experience mothering in so many areas of your life, and they both hold this value. And again, when we teach with archetypes, it's like mother, mom, a person. No. This is expansive. This is an energy. This is a feeling, and it is present and available in so many different ways. And we're going to talk about this later, probably. I shouldn't keep saying that because I don't know where we're going to go. That's part of the fun. We might not even get to it, and that's great too. But part of what we're going to be talking about is you don't have to heal your personal relationship with your mother to heal your relationship with the mother within, the mother archetype. And that's the feminine, multi-dimensional healing. We're going to dive into all of that. That is really the breaking open a limitation of what we thought we had to do to even touch this part of ourselves, Anything else to share on that?
I just, another little side note is I feel like another reason why I feel like being a hairstylist and just connecting with people is part of my purpose is because I've had a lot of mothering women come into my life and show me what that looks like. And I feel like without working so closely and intimately with people, I maybe wouldn't have had that perspective. So that has healed me a lot as well.
Yes.
So,
Oh yeah.
oh, no, that was it. Sorry.
No, I'm just so excited. Like, you're literally like outlining everything, and I love this because that's what I mean. And that's what I said. We pull a thread.
Yeah.
You know what this means. That's the things with archetype. It's part of who we are in our psyche. So we don't have to say a lot. And it's like, oh, I know this.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things kind of talk about. I think I'm going to go to a certain area. I think that's where we're going to go next. And we'll just kind of anchor in these stories and give it, what we're trying to do here and why it sometimes takes a little bit to get there. We have to go through layers or whatever that is, is because we're working from our thinking brain and trying to give name, express, give words to these very intangible, abstract feelings and knowings and things that are inside of us. And bridging that, it's a lot. And that's why we need all these pieces. We need stories, and we'll come back and get a visual, and we might go somewhere else. All of that is part of how we kind of thread this energy open and help us understand ourselves on a deeper level. So what you just said there as well, actually, let me go ahead and I'm going to go to this slide to just give some visual to what you just shared. Let me see where I'm at. Okay. Actually, I just gotta make sure I got my Zoom box here. Okay, can you still see my screen?
I can see you.
Oh, let me do that again. How about now?
Yep.
And can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're just going right, we're gonna follow. That's what I mean. I've got like all the parts and we're just gonna pull them out piece by piece, however they come up. So how do we heal this mother archetype and this mother wound? And I say heal because there's a few things we'll talk about this. Whether you're a mother or not, whether you have a beautiful relationship with your personal mother or maybe a rocky one, the mother is present within and the mother is the feminine. So healing with mother is healing feminine. And to me, why I say healing is because the mother wound is like the original wound that we all hold as women. We are first separated from our mothers. The cord is cut and now we're separate from the divine mother, from the body of the mother where it was very safe and warm in the womb, you know? I mean, this mother is the feminine, and that's why its roots are very deep and it's very wide, and we can talk a lot about all of this. But again, we're just kind of pulling in some layers and seeing where we go. So with mother, what we're talking about is expanding our definition of mother and the archetype of mother. And we're also rewriting right now this conversation, what you're sharing and what we're talking about. We're rewriting what mother is by reframing it in these ways. So how I like to think of mother is there's many ways. Oh, I missed one on here, but so we do have our personal mother relationship, the woman who raised you. Maybe you had an absent mother, and that's part of your personal mother story. Maybe you had more than one mother, you know, maybe your grandmother was your personal mother growing up, whatever it is, but that role from caregiver, main caregiver of the feminine, or absent feminine as a child, that is our personal mother story. Beyond that, we have a relationship to all the other definitions and layers of mother. It's not just our relationship with our personal mother. You have an inner mother. And that inner mother shows up how you mother yourself and how you mother the people and the women and the spaces and the animals, like you said, and the land around you. Your inner mother is a big part of your identity and archetype and story as mother. And then we have the earth mother, right? Mother nature. When we want to connect to who we are and the divine feminine mother and feel held and feel beauty and feel that, we just have to go out in nature. Like I was saying, communing with the rose. That call I had, like, if I'm gonna tap into mother, I need to go be with the earth of the mother and see what's there. Everything is nourished, everything is resourced. Sometimes there are devastating storms, sometimes there are soft rains, and all that nature brings. Nature is a beautiful mirror of this mother archetype, and also where we can find deep healing with mother is in nature. And then we have collective mother. We might get into this, but this is kind of like the collective conscious and unconscious, more the psychological identity that we have of mother, you know, as humans. And that mother, we'll probably get into this. That mother has a lot projected onto her of who she is and who she needs to be and who she shouldn't be and who she can't be and how she's supposed to mother. That collective identity that we hold at mother, that's you know, gets a lot of projection on it, but that we can also rewrite as we rewrite our own stories. We rewrite the collective story. And then we have the divine mother, the cosmic mother, the Shekinah, the womb of creation, of life force energy. That is, you know, tied to, I'm going to say Shakti, but Shakti is kind of this earth mother energy meeting the Shekinah, meeting the cosmic mother. And to me, we work in layers, just like this labyrinth between individual and collective, especially when we're working with archetypes. Sometimes we need to come deep, deep, deep down into our individual story, and sometimes to deepen our understanding or to work through whatever is coming up for us, we need to really expand out and come to some of these other layers. But either way, we're always like weaving and spiraling into our personal story, out all the way to the Divine Mother, and back in and through, weaving through. And to understand that, like it says, it changes our ability to relate to Mother. Because I might not be ready to touch my personal mother story or my lineage mother story. That might be not where I'm at, but I can touch Earth Mother. I can step into that mother energy. And the one that I put on here, or maybe I put it somewhere else in the slides, was Other Mother. Just because your personal relationship with your mother is a certain way, or even if it's a beautiful thing, but there's parts of yourself that feel like you can't connect with her on, we have many other mothers. Many other mothers, women that step in, what you said about your clients, mentors that we have, a boss, a teacher. We have, even if what we've received from our mothers doesn't match the love that we're craving, I would invite you, and that's like a great reflective practice, who are the other mothers in my journey and in my life? Could be friends, anything. So if we've ever felt the abandonment of the mother archetype, all you have to do is look around, zoom out, and see that there is mothering energy and nourishment and wisdom and support all around us all the time. So I think, let me just think for 1 second and see where we want to go here. I think that, not going to go there. Okay, so in this, idea of lineage healing, and we are going to talk about personal mother, one of the things is, as we start to pull this thread, as we start to expand our awareness of mother, regardless of what steps or your current relationship with your mother, or maybe you had an amazing mother, but you still feel this archetypal wound of mother. That was my story, and I didn't understand that for a long time. We first want to kind of get down to the roots and clear out a few things and have an understanding of, let's really talk about what mother is and why a lot of these things, why has this mother wound been so big for so many of us, and why is it coming up now? So there's a few things that we're going to talk about. I don't know if we're going to get into the wheel, but one of the biggest initiations, and that's actually what this threshold is about, is moving from maiden to mother. From our youthful feminine, where we're really about learning who we are and having experiences and forming relationships, with others. And then all of a sudden there's an identity shift from maiden into this mother archetype. But to move from maiden to mother, regardless if it's on your personal life cycle journey, regardless if it's through the monthly cycle you go through every month, you go through all these archetypes every month, that's a whole thing we'll talk about, or if it's just in this wheel of the year, there is a threshold. Anytime we're shifting an identity or shifting into a new season, there is a threshold we must meet. A sacred initiation where we really have to meet and push up against all of the parts of ourselves that can't come with us, all of the fears that are but it's really comfortable here and I know what to expect here. All of the parts of us that are oh, but that sounds like a lot of responsibility to be a mother, right? That's what the maiden says before her initiation. There is a threshold, and it is symbolized through the wheel of the year where we're standing by the summer solstice. We are being asked to move from maiden into mother. Beyond that, why do we struggle with this? So many of us struggle with this. I know many mothers who are still very much in their uninitiated maiden. A child born does not a mother make alone.
Right.
And I know, young people who have more like mothering energy than someone, down the road, and that's all okay.
Yeah.
But these archetypes and in reinitiating ourselves into these feminine archetypes, this is the base of it all. And part of why these initiations don't happen is, number one, we have lost our feminine community. It used to be that you were raised in a community of women teaching you, showing you how to be mother, showing you what to do, right? Or, I mean, if we really think about communal living, like when someone gave birth, there was women to come around, to cook the food, to show them how to hold the baby, to be there and initiate them into their new role as a new mother, from maiden to mother. And through many, many, many things, through our healthcare system, through our modern fragmented society, through our isolation, through our disconnection with the feminine, and especially our feminine community, all of these initiation, these rites of passages, these circles of women that would help guide us into this, those have dissolved away. And that is a big part of where this big gap in the mother initiation has been. And there's many, many layers to this. Like I said, we're just going to kind of pull out these threads. What do I want to say with this? I feel like there's more with this maiden and mother initiation. The maiden serves a purpose. The maiden will always be part of who we are. As we get deeper into the creatrix cycle, we'll talk about every one of these archetypes. It's not just like a wound, right? It is an exaltation. It is a gift, but we dance between the dark and light with each archetype. So the maiden is where we discover like who we are, what we want. The maiden is where we have all of these many experiences that help form our self-identity. The maiden is where the muse of our creativity lives, and where the lover lives as well. All these archetypes, because I'm just going to say this as a side thing, this could be a whole like podcast episode. We cannot have a mother without a lover. And that's part of the maiden. So all of these pieces are living and breathing with each other in these cycles. They're needed. So it's not like, oh shoot, I'm a maiden and I need to be. No, this will always be part of you. But we also need to understand that in our culture worships the maiden. It wants us to be in the shadow of the maiden, where we're just here to please others. We're here for the male gaze. Stay young and youthful forever. Don't get old. Don't have the audacity to get old. We'll put you on a pedestal for your youth and your beauty and your softness and the part of you that doesn't speak up because you're not anchored in yourself yet. But as soon as you move over into the mother or the queen or the crone, we get pushed off our pedestal. So in our culture, we are told, we are groomed, we are conditioned to stay in our maiden, let alone not having these initiation rites in this community of women to be like, hello, welcome, your maiden time is done, let us move you forward, right? So the maiden culture is hyper emphasized. We are missing initiation rites, teaching, wisdom, and space holding for moving from maiden to mother. And when we have a wounded relationship with the mother, which like I said, we all do on some level, that's okay. That's what an archetype is. It's, we see the good in it and we see the difficult, and our job is just to meet it. If we haven't healed, contended with our relationship to mother, that identity, we're going to be very resistant to step into that part of ourselves and stay in our maiden. This was a very big thing for me, was I had a definition. I had a story of what being a mother had to be. And everything I was taught and shown, which was beautiful, wonderful things, right, didn't match who I thought I was and had to be a mother. And so I just told myself a lot, well, I guess I'm just not meant to be a mother because I don't identify with that. I don't identify with that story of what mother is. But as I started to contend with mother, form a relationship with mother, and all those levels we thought, I see I already am mother energy in so many ways, in the ways I support women or lead women, or when I was a nurse as a caregiver, or leading women and helping them as a leader, or what I do now is mothering energy. But like I said, if we haven't formed or integrated our relationship with mother, we just think we're separate and that's just not for me, and so I'll just stay over here. Anything come up with that or want to share? How does that resonate for you?
I mean, I feel like that definitely all makes sense. And I feel like I also questioned if I was capable of, I think, just being capable of the type of mother that I thought I needed to be, because it didn't feel aligned.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the shift in consciousness and awareness that is happening, like, people, the definition of mother is already starting to look different. It's on small scales, but I think that it's allowed me to view things differently, if that makes sense, and just knowing myself more. I feel like I've always wanted to be a mother, but I just didn't know if I was capable. But now I feel like, because I've tapped into different parts of myself and healed parts of myself, now I'm like, I feel like I would be a great mother, you know? And I do agree with, I feel like you have very mothering energy, so in like the best way ever.
Thank you.
You're like very nurturing.
Thank you. We'll talk about this probably at some point. My midheaven, what I'm here to do, the legacy I'm here to lead, how I'm here to lead my people is Cancer.
That would make sense.
It's the feminine, it's the mother. That's why, you know, for me to speak on these things too, I have had to be initiated.
Yeah.
In big ways, tap deep into this Cancer energy, into these mother stories. One thing I'm gonna thank you for sharing everything that you shared. So yeah, we're mirroring, we're tapped into this same thing.
Yeah.
And I guess I just want to speak on what you said too. That's where that other mother comes in, right? Because when we look at like developmental psychology, you know, whatever we grew up with in our home, we just think that's normal. That's like how it is, and everybody else is, because that's our individual experience, right? And that includes our relationship. But then when we go out and we see someone like breaking the rules of what we thought we had to be, kind of like you're saying, and I know that was the same for me. I saw a mother and saw, you know, someone who was very independent, not lost in the identity of her children, but still extremely supportive and all of those things. And to see how her being herself, you know, while being a mother, not just like, because that's we'll talk about boundaries.
Right.
The mother needs boundaries. Otherwise, it just enmeshes with everything.
Yeah.
Right? So I saw a mother with who more matched my energy, and I was like, she could be a mother like that. Maybe I could be a mother like that. It changed my story. And I'm hearing you've had those other mothers, that other mother energy, that all of a sudden it changed your story of what this could be. And you're like, well, I couldn't see myself in this, but I could see myself in this story. So this is my story that I'm writing.
Yeah.
One thing I'm going to talk about here, because it's on the page, and we're going to like mash a bunch up, is this ancestral karma, the Cancer Capricorn axis, the masculine, feminine, and we'll probably work our way around to this mother-daughter split.
I'm going to mute you and turn my, because I have to go to the bathroom, but
For sure. You do you.
I'll just be listening.
Wonderful. Yeah, no problem. So, what I'm going to say about these things is, you know, this comes to the cycle breaking, and this comes to the lineage healing. And what we just like pulled out and threaded out in the storytelling, that is lineage healing. No matter what we're talking about, it's like, wow, this is what I was shown, but I can do something different. And those things, like, they might sound so obvious, that is a revelation. We don't know what we don't know. Like, it is a revelation to be like, break open the limitation, be like, I can do something different. And what you do different, again, it ripples outwards and outwards. And this goes back to, it's not just our personal relationship with mother, it gets handed down and handed down and handed down. Let me think where I want to go with this. Okay, I think I'm going to go into a little bit of another part. You know, one of the things is realizing our mothers are people. Yes, they're mothers, but they have a whole personal identity. Your mother identity is not your whole identity. That's kind of what we're talking about. We think mother is, that is who and what I am. When mother is a part of your whole identity, that's the healthy boundary. You're someone outside of mother. And so our mothers are people. And sometimes seeing them like that can really help us contend with they're a person, and I can see and appreciate them as a person, even if that mother part I have some thoughts about. And why I say that our mothers are people is because with this ancestral lineage healing, we have to remember our mothers have mother wounds too. I just feel like I want to say that again. Our mothers have mother wounds too, that were passed down to them, that were passed down to them, 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 to them. So even though we can look at our personal relationship mother and, like I said, have some thoughts, your mother is acting out her mother wound, and her mother acted out her mother wound. When we are falling into the shadow of the mother, the abandoning mother, or the controlling critical mother, or the absent mother, or the mother who was a child, so we had to be the parent mother, that is all stemming from your mother's relationship with her inner mother, herself. This goes so far beyond just ourselves, and this is why we're talking about archetypes and collective stories, because we can see, and that expands our understanding of why things are the way they are. Yes, there's a personal part and story to this, and we need to deal with that personal story sometimes and say, I'm not okay with that, and I'm gonna, you know, shift or heal or expand or grow the relationship with my personal mother. And this is how we, again, go through that labyrinth and find different ways in. That ancestral karma is deep, 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 deep. Our subconscious. Your subconscious forms from ages 0 to 7, your childhood, your inner child. And guess who the main player is there besides you and the inner child? It's the mother. And this forms so much of who we are, of how we show up in the world, of how we show up for ourselves. So like I said, this is deep. We can't get all into it, but we're gonna just pull on some threads, and a lot of this will start to grow and expand and inspire you as you move forward. I am gonna tell this story. So everybody knows, like, I was a nurse, so I'm very nerdy and sciencey and also highly mystical. And I love reading research articles, and I'll tell this story sometimes. But one of my favorite research articles I ever read was about conditioning. And they had these lab mice, and they trained the lab mice to associate a certain scent, the scent of cherry blossoms, with giving them an electrical shock on their feet. Lab stuff, but so they would release that scent of cherry blossoms, and then they would get a little shock on their feet from the floor. And what they did and studied, this is like epigenetics, this is imprinting, this is how things get handed down. They then took those mice and they would breed them down generation by generation by generation by generation. The only mice that were actually exposed to, like when they smelled the cherry blossom, the only mice that were exposed to the shock was the first generation. But every subsequent generation, all the way, I think they went quite a bit down, but I know for sure it was like 9 generations of mice down with no shocks. All of those subsequent generations, whenever they would release the scent of cherry blossoms, they would have a stress response in their body. Their heart rate would go up, they would get anxious, they would start demonstrating, like, anticipating the shock. From one link in the chain lineage of having a trauma. Passed down, passed down, passed down, passed down. So deep and powerful this is. That's how much things get passed down. So when I say, you know, some of our compassion for ourselves and for our mothers and for those who came before them is they're just acting it out. And that's where, yes, we have probably experienced these very deep and wide wounds with the personal mother in some way. And this is where we stop and we say, but I don't have to do this too. But I'm going to bring it to the awareness. I'm going to touch on the part that I'm a little afraid of and rewire the pattern. And what I want to say with that as well, one of the things I've noticed from studying this mother archetype for quite some time, mothers teach. Mothers raise through example. Mothers pass down to children. That is part of this energy of mother. Your mother will probably, just like I just described in that lab experiment, your mother teaches you the survival patterns that she had to learn to be safe.
Yeah.
Like, I wish my mother taught me that, or, you know, she was really controlling, or she was really this, or whatever it is. She is just teaching you how she learned how to be safe. And for her, how she kept herself safe might be, oh, don't go try new things. It might be, well, just show up and be happy and be selfless and take care of everybody. That's how we stay safe. That's how we, you know, that's how we survive. Your mother will pass down those things. And what I also want to say, remembering our mother are people. Our mothers are individuals. The energy of mother, I feel like this gets like missed a lot. You can only give, and this is true of all relationships, you can only give to other people what you give to yourself. Your mother can only mother you to the depth that she mothers herself.
Mm-hmm.
So if she doesn't, that inner mother is very wounded, that's all she can give. That is the energy of mother as a mirror. And again, none of these things just like dissolve away, whatever our story about mother is, but we're opening a different layer of compassion and understanding and witnessing. And and this is true too of relationships too, how we speak to others is how we speak to ourselves. So if your mother, like one of the archetypes of the mother is like the critic, your mother is the critic and she's constantly nitpicking and constantly commenting on things and constantly, that's how I'm going to tell you, that's how she speaks to herself. It's very hard when we're the one receiving and mirroring and getting the projection of that, but how she speaks to you is probably how she speaks to herself.
I had heard once, and I don't know if this is true, but basically how your mother speaks to you is how you end up speaking to yourself. Is that true? Like that learned voice becomes your inner voice?
I absolutely think there's a lot of truth to that, because it is. You will start to notice like the things you say or the words that come out of your mouth, and think about what the role mother plays again in those formative years in the subconscious.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, these are threads to pull where it's like, wow, I can really see how deep this goes, and but that's where we change the pattern, and this is where healing your mother relationship, your inner mother, that is all any of us can do.
Yeah.
And you might find healing with your personal mother, or even the collective mother or the divine mother through that. But once you start to contend with this mother archetype, define it for yourself, rewrite the story, show up with it when it's hard, show up when that mother is definitely in the inner mother's inner shadow and we're having a day, and when it's in its exaltation, like being fully present with the spectrum of what this can be. And truly, that is really all we can do. And of course, we want healing and connection and relationship, with our personal mother, but the mirror goes both ways. We have to be in our empowered mother archetype to show up as the empowered mother we want to be for others, for our community, for what it is that we're mothering.
I think that makes sense. I'm sure I shared this with you, but sorry, I just interjected. I'm just going off of what you're saying, but I reached out to a friend when I was having just not really knowing how to move forward with my own mom, and she had recently lost her mom, and I just wanted that perspective, because that's a definite thing where you can't go back. She's passed and whatnot, and she just said, I wished that I would have been able to see my mom as human and not have so many expectations. Mm-hmm. And I completely that's something that sticks with me. And I think actually I've had 2 friends lose their moms that had just different complex relationships and not necessarily the happiest or whatever you want to call it, whatever. But they both kind of said similar things, that they wished that they would have been able to separate themselves from the situation and not have so many expectations for their mothers. And I completely understand that. And I think that it's helped me view my situation differently. But I was able to reflect on that question or that like statement, but also recognize that yes, I see her as human. Yes, I have more compassion and understanding and empathy for the situation, but that doesn't have to mean that I have to put myself in that. And so, like, still having that boundary and being able to accept the situation and her for being human and who she is and her experience and having more compassion and understanding and less expectation is completely all there. And I still don't want to be fully immersed in it. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I don't know. I think being able to accept that was really empowering.
Yeah, our mothers are people, and like I said, mother, it's not their whole identity.
Right,
It's not
exactly.
all of who, and that's like a, I mean, honestly, like again, the way we've been conditioned, that can seem like a crazy thing to say. It's like, but they're
Yeah.
a mother, and that's
Yeah.
the projection field. Well, when you're a mother, every other part of your identity is gone. That's who you are.
And it's so interesting because I think depending on the generations, which I think generations past have had this identity of if I'm a mother, that is my identity. And so I see women coming out of that when their kids are moving out of the house and they are very, I mean this in like a very just like observatory way. Like they feel like they're refining themselves. They don't really know who they are without the identity of, I need to care for my children all the time. And so I think that's a really big struggle because there wasn't a ton of separation from mother and self and being able to like have both. You know, it was just, I'm a mother and that's my identity now. And it's sad because it's like that puts so much pressure on being a mother. And I don't know. I just think there's no, like, everything has to have balance because if you just, mothering to me is, you're giving a lot, you know? And so if you're not like, if you're giving and giving and caring and doing all these things all the time, like, I feel like it's beautiful, but it also is depleting a little bit. So, like, to not have a sense of just identity or self outside of that, I think would be really tough.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful share, beautifully said. Um, so what you're talking about, do I want to go? So we will talk about the archetypal wheel. I think what we've been talking about is very potent and wonderful, but just like I'm just, I don't know. Hold on, maybe I will go over here. I just love a visual, you know?
I do too.
Yeah, it just like helps my brain. Okay. So let's talk about the feminine archetypal journey. So everything you just reflected back is what we said. I can understand my mother's a person with her own thing, and I can still, I still need to contend with and define my relationship with my personal mother and how
Yeah.
close we are, what bound, like that doesn't go away. This is
Yeah.
thing is a both and, thing.
Yeah.
And you're healing your inner mother through yourself, for yourself, because that's all we can do.
Yeah.
It's all we can do, honestly. So, yeah, I really appreciate everything you just said, like mirroring back in perfect harmony of what we were just like kind of talking through. So, we're gonna talk about just tiny bit, exactly what you just said about these women who their whole identity is mother. And like you said, very generational also of the projection field of the mother that society puts on her.
Right.
It's supposed to be. So this is one of the layers of the creatrix cycle, is these feminine archetypes of the maiden, the mother, and the queen and the crown. So if you're familiar with the triple goddess talks about the archetypal feminine journey, and if it's triple, it's usually maiden, mother, and crone. and I'll talk a little bit more about what this means. But what I've observed is there are 4 stages. And the 4th stage is moving exactly what you just articulated. It is moving, if we are from maiden and we have to move over the threshold into our identity as mother, the mother has to do the same thing, meet the same threshold, initiation, difficulty, identity shift, death and rebirth in who she is when she moves from mother to what I call the queen stage. And the queen stage, if we're just talking about the life cycle, is exactly what you said. Oh my gosh, my kids don't need me as much. This isn't the main focus of my life and my identity. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose in the world now that I'm not just focused, in this way? The queen is what comes online, where we have to contend with who we are as a sovereign being in this life stage. And then from the queen, we have to jump another threshold from queen to crone. The later life stage, where we're less about who we are and what our purpose is and how we're serving, and even our queendom of, where that next second career time is in a lot of women's life. And now we're at the stage where we're really in this slowing down, this intuitive, the winter of our lives. So I'm trying to think how far back I want to go with this. So we can see these 4 archetypes, the maiden, the mother, the queen, the crone. What we're talking about is the life cycle of women. We can see this, right? We're going to move through our youth. We're going to move through the spring of our life. And then we're going to move through the summer of our life, the fullness of mother. And then we're going to move into the fall, where things fall away and we have to kind of reevaluate, redefine, and even alchemize, our identity as a woman. And then we get to this stage in our life where our gift isn't what we do, it is our wisdom. And we can understand that through the life cycle stages, ages and stages of women. But what is so amazing about these archetypes, these cycles, every layer of the creatrix cycle, is it is multidimensional. It does not just apply to our physical life. These are the 4 archetypes that we all hold as women. And they exist in phases, and they exist all at once. And you move through these phases, the maiden, the mother, the queen, the crone, the spring, the summer, the autumn, the winter, every single month as a woman. This is your cycle. These coincide with the moon phases. These coincide with your menstrual phases. And that's what I mean. When we start to learn an archetype, we can apply it to so many different things. And it is a lot of layers, but that's where we're just going to start teaching piece by piece by piece by piece what this cycle is. So it's like, okay, I have this big life initiation from maiden to mother. But you're dancing between all of them all the time. And you need to call on all of them at different times. And every month you're going to dance between maiden and mother. But this is where we're really talking about where we are in the wheel of the year. We have our individual cycle, but we have the collective cycle. And the collective wheel kind of follows these seasons. So spring, maiden, we were just in this. This is the rebirth. We are at a threshold, ready to move into mother, to summer, where our highest, what word do I want to use? Our highest purpose in this is to express. and round and round and round we go. And it will take a little bit of time to learn this, but we start to see that this is our feminine blueprint. And all we have to do is just touch on one part at a time, touch on whatever the astro energy is showing us is on offer, and just keep walking through this over and over again. Every time you touch on mother, you're going to deepen your relationship with it. Sometimes it's going to be grief. Sometimes it's going to be rage. Sometimes it's going to be infinitesimal, unconditional, universal love. Everything in between. We just keep walking through this like the labyrinth that it is, and deepening our relationship again and again and again and again. And this is just a visual of these energetic thresholds: summer solstice, fall eclipse, the winter solstice, spring eclipse and equinox. These cycles are playing out on so many levels. And the more and more and more that we start to talk about them, we start to unearth them, we start to work with them, it will change our relationship to them without and within. So I want to talk about, actually got through quite a bit. I know we're going to get to the end of our time here a little bit. I kind of want to deep dive into this, I think. So we do have a projection of all of these archetypes, that collective projection. What is the maiden, right? Her being put on a pedestal, but also wanting her to keep her in her little girl stage. The mother, oh, you're a mother now, say goodbye to your life. The queen stage, wow, she's really bossy. Man, she's really focused on herself. That's where the inner critic comes out. The crone stage. There's a big aversion to being the crone in our culture. It's also where our witch wound lives. All of these parts, we've had a lot of projection on our feminine identity and this feminine archetype of who we are as women. So the way I have the creatrix cycle is every archetype has what I kind of consider the golden archetype, I would sort of say, of each one, where we move beyond just mother. When you heal your relationship, your inner relationship with your mother archetype, you actually move into kind of the higher archetype of the mother, the true purpose of the mother, which is the healer. Mothering energy is healing energy. It is nourishing energy. It is the mother that we keep talking about. You know, we have talked quite a bit about parental mother and personal mother, but remember, you don't have to be a physical mother to contend with mother. And every single thing that we've said today applies to mother, whether we're talking about mothering a child, mothering your business, mothering your world, mothering your community. It all applies. So the mother moving to the healer is when she embodies all those parts of those mother, but in the healthiest expression possible. The healer is the purpose. Like, we think mothers are healing. They're the ones that, like, you know, tend to our scrapes and cuts, right? They give us the Band-Aid. They're feeding us and nourishing us. They're the caregivers of the community. That's the higher purpose when we heal this relationship with our mother, is we actually step into the healer. And the healer is here to be of that same like selfless service as the mother, but she's holding the higher expression. She has balanced what she gives, her outward expression and service, with first sustaining herself from within. That is a boundary she has for herself. That is a value she has for herself. And I will tell you, this Cancer energy, Cancer, yes, it's the mother, but it's not the projected mother. It's the mother that is so nourished from within, that has gone to the depths of who she is and has learned to find the heart, the gem inside anyway, and love herself through it. Who can hold space, can hold her light and her dark, who can hold, because that's what mother does. That's what Cancer does. The mother is there like cheering us on in our moments, encouraging us, lighting us up. And she's also there in our darkness, in our tears, in our pain, holding us. The mother can hold. That's really the purpose, to hold and be held. She takes responsibility for her own healing, know that how she chooses to show up for herself is the foundation of how she shows up for others. That's what the healer is. She says, what is mine to heal within? And then I'm going to use that healing to then change my story and now be of service, be of healing to the world around me. And this goes back to what we said. We mother ourselves, we heal this relationship with the archetype. The first steps to moving from the mother to the healer is contending with your mother within. Holding and being held. And the truth is, going back to this maiden to mother, it is a lot more responsibility. The focus does just shift from I to we. It is dirty laundry and, tending the garden and all of that. But this is part of that maturation to understand what we think we have to give up in the maiden will be given back tenfold in the mother. It's just a different phase. And like you saw on that wheel of the maiden, the mother, the queen, and the crone, every phase has its purpose. But what we're really rewriting is we can show up in this healthy expression of the mother that has boundaries, that has her own identity, that nourishes. She is the embodied example of nourishing from within before she gives, because I think about this a lot with the mothering, right? What example would you want to pass down? I would want to pass down the example as a mother that my children know I'm my own person. That I don't have to be perfect all the time. I don't have to be, showing up all the time. I can show up fully as myself. I take care of myself first before I give, because that is something I would want to pass down to them. That was a phrase in my household a lot. Do as I say, not as I do. What we pass down to children, and again, this can be applied to other things besides just mothering children. Your children don't do what you say. They do what you do. They live what you show them. And that can be an encourage for us rewriting their identity as mother. It's like, oh my God, the guilt, the shame, the opinions from others as, this identity of mother, like, oh, you're not just selfless, you're not just like dropping everything for, whatever. I would want my kids to do that. I would want them to know, oh, you know what? I have these boundaries. I'm going to take care of myself and fill my cup and sustain myself before I do that. If that's what we want, what we're mothering to be the example of, we just have to embody it first. So this has been really expansive and, I mean, we've honestly touched on like a third. It's
Yeah.
much, right? But like I said, we just have to pull a thread. And what I love about teaching in this way and sharing in this way, this will come alive for you. You will have more insights. You will start to see these patterns. You will start to see this archetype coming up, this energy frequency of the mother and the healer coming up. This is the opening that allows you to move forward. This is the initiation into a new identity and a new story of what mother can be and what we're going to be led to. And you still have to take the journey,
Yeah.
So how do we start to heal our relationship with the archetypal mother and know that it will ripple out to personal mother, other mother, earth mother, collective mother, divine mother? The mother within. I'm going to kind of move through these, and then I think I have a few reflection prompts.
Yeah.
So the mother within, I feel like we've talked about that. We heal our relationship with our inner mother, and that's our most divine door, I would say. Inner child and reparenting. The mother, the archetype of the mother and the child, like we view them as separate and symbiotic and relational, but also like if you really think about it, they can never be separate.
Mm.
That's what the mother says, right? I don't care if you're 30 years old, you came out of my womb, you are part of me, right? Like it can't be separate. And because you know why? Because every mother has an inner child inside of her.
Right.
They're the same. So inner child work, making space for our inner child can be part of the way of how we relate to our inner mother too. And the mother within and this reparenting is a lot of times we can feel a deep ache and longing for our mothers to mother us the way that we wish we would have been. That like makes me a little teary. That is like the ache that we have. Like if she could just see me, if she could just understand for me, if she could just show up for me. And like I said, that can be true, and we can also realize that's us projecting onto the mother too. All we can do in this reparenting is be the mother for ourselves that we wish we would have had. And part of that deep ache and part of that maiden wound is like, well, why do I have to do it? Well, why do I have to be the mature one? And right? Or, okay, I'm doing this, but who's taking care of me?
Right.
These are the layers. We can sit with that. Those are the parts that stop us from moving forward. It's true. It should have been different. It's true. We don't have control over anybody or anything else outside of who we are. We can wish and hope and make progress and heal our personal relationship, but at the end of the day, who we feel abandoned by, who we wish was treating us differently, who we wish was showing up for ourselves, it's the way we mother ourselves.
That makes sense.
Embodying the love you desired. This is the radical responsibility and the things that make us a little sweaty. Sometimes but this is the cycle breaking. We are not, part of cycle breaking is not being a victim to what was and realizing that we are the ones that choose. Part of moving from maiden to mother is we're not waiting for someone to save us. We're not waiting for someone to come make it better. I am the mother I was waiting for. And from that, me embodying it, me living it myself, I'm telling you, this will heal on many levels. And now you will show up in service, in your healership, in your mothering, in the way that maybe your personal mother never could. We have to choose and say, I can either let this keep passing down because I was hurt and it was hurt and it wasn't fair, and that is all true. And it starts with somebody saying, this stops with me. This will not move forward, and I have to choose. And I will tell you, this is the initiation. The initiations are walking through the fire of what is deeply uncomfortable. And there will be times in life where we kind of run up to the threshold and we're like, whoa, no, way too much. And we go back. We might run up, and that's okay. But there will be a time where, as deeply uncomfortable as it is and as unfair as it was, and all the stories I tell myself, I just don't want to be here anymore. And so I'm going to leap, use all of my courage, use all of my power, use all of my womanhood to leap over the threshold so that I can go into the next phase and start writing the story that I wanted to be written. You get to write it. Claiming the story as the cycle breaker. I'm gonna say why I say things this way too. I've been through all these initiations and I still go through them. One of the ways for me, my mother wound showed up was not taking physical care of myself. The mother bathes, the mother dresses, the mother feeds, the mother, right? All of those things, which surprises people. I think people think of me as a pretty healthy person, like, you know, but I would go in these waves of taking deep care of myself and moving my body and feeding myself what I'm supposed to and all of that. And then I would totally like crash out over and over and over again. Or I had a difficult wound with my body because the body is the mother. And when I started working with this has been a long journey for me. This is where a lot of my chart and my karma lies, is this mother wound. It just comes to a point for me where it was like, well, I can either choose to keep wishing it was different or wishing something or someone would make it easier, or I can just do that mother part, which is take a big gulp, own the responsibility I have, and show up the way that I want to, not show up the way I was treated. And once we take that big gulp and we move over the threshold and we step into the responsibility, you start to take the steps. You start to sustain yourself from within. So with that, you will have these slides, and maybe I'll put this in the beginning, or if you want to take a screenshot or anything, you're welcome to. This is the reflections that kind of tie into everything we just went over there. This is where you take the download and you let your inner wisdom and truth speak to you. How are you being called to mother yourself in the ways you never received? How well do you mother others while also nourishing from within? What is your relationship to the sustainer? The sustainer is the carry wood, chop water, tend the garden bed, because I know I actually want to create, mother, and grow something, but I have to do, the day-to-day mundane stuff. That's the sustainer energy, and you can look that archetype up as well. Where can you lean into your inner strength, showing up for yourself more fully even when it's hard? That's a gift of the mother, is resilience. We don't have a choice. We're mother. We have to figure it out. How are you being called to be of service as the healer? These are some deep questions, and like I said, this is big stuff. We're going in. That's what we're here to do, because these things need to be unearthed, and the timeline that we're on, they are requiring to be unearthed. And with anything in the cycle, just remember the difficult parts are the way through. A lot of feminine teaching is about easy, soft. It's maiden teaching. It's maiden teaching. And there is value to some parts of that, but what we saw in that wheel, the maiden teaching of what the feminine is, easy, soft, I don't have to do anything, everybody take care of me, I just call it in. That is 1/4 of the story. You're missing the story to become this sovereign, integrated, full woman rising. I am here with my crone energy to help initiate women through these things piece by piece. And it is a journey. We are at the beginning at the Cancer season, and we're opening this up, but we've got a 3-month journey of this, right? It's not all gonna happen at once. It's gonna happen piece by piece by piece by piece. And what my encouragement to you is, pull a thread. Don't have to heal and fix this whole thing now. We gave a lot to digest. Pull a thread and see where it takes you. One piece, one question, one reflection, one moment out in connecting with the divine nature or mother nature. That's really all that we need to do. The other thing, I'm not gonna show the other slides that I had in this, but here's because we have the Cancer transit, but we've got Lilith. We talked about that in our group. Lilith is right here too. Lilith is the shadow of the feminine, and they're stacked right on top of each other. So as much as that's like, ooh, I'm telling you, this is the time where you are cosmically supported to do this deep work. You are being led to the initiation portal, and this is where we're called to grow and expand our identity and our story of what is possible here. This is leading you into your next evolution. So I have 2 practices that I would love to kind of share and see where we're at with this. We didn't get to talk as much about the tool of expression and healing the mother archetype and moving from mother to healer, but expression is the antidote for the mother wound. That is part of the problem of the projected mother is don't express yourself, don't complain, don't ask for anything. Just stay silent in the background. You're just here to serve. Don't express your desires and the dreams that you had, before you were a mom. That's actually what shuts down. Not expressing is what shuts down the mother. And expressing is also what heals the mother. We have to express things to release them. How can you express? We have to express the hurts that happened. I just had a conversation with this about the other day. With Cancer and the water element and the mother and the, exalted unconditional love that's very forgiving, right? A lot of the work with the mother wound is around some forgiveness, right? Even if we had an incredible mother, we're still forgiving the parts of us that weren't met. And we can't begin the process of forgiveness without expression first. whether we're expressing it to ourselves, whether we're expressing it to the personal mother, our mothers directly, whether we're writing a letter. That's where the healing waters of Cancer and the Mother Archetype come in. Let it flow. Let the emotions come up around this. Let the depth come. Let the grief. Let yourself get down to the root. This is how we begin in this journey. That's what Cancer season wants you to do. It wants you to hold space for the grief, for the emotions, for the layers, so that you can start the cleansing, the renewal, the healing, the forgiveness. So practices that I have for this, this is a really good time as we step over the threshold, but also into Cancer season, to express yourself. Write it down, take it in dance, in movement, take it in meditation, or write a letter. You can write a letter to your mother, you can write a letter to your inner child, you can write a letter from your inner child to you, you can write a letter to your inner mother or vice versa, but a letter of forgiveness. Because we always have to go down to the depth. We have to descend before we can emerge. We didn't get to talk as much about the patterns of the cycle, but this is how we heal. We got to go down to the queen and the crone first, and then come back out into the light of the maiden and the mother. So we go down and we come out, and this is the archetypal journey that every month the Zodiac brings. So start with the letter of forgiveness or expression. And then one of the practices that came up very strongly from the rose, actually, is a practice I did a long time ago. It came up a little bit recently. Write a letter to yourself, or every day a short letter to yourself from the Divine Mother, the Cosmic Mother, the unconditional source love of creation, the infinite womb, the Divine Feminine. You can tap into this pretty easily. Let yourself see what would the Divine Mother say to you, because that is going to show you the core of the light of what the Mother and Cancer and the healer and the Divine Mother and the Mother within you has to offer you on the other side of this. Okay, I had a little bit of divination, but we're kind of at the end of our time. So one thing that I would like to invite you in is we just took an archetypal journey down into the layers, up through that whole labyrinth of what this is. So reorient yourself to time, place, and space. One last thing so let's reorient to time, place, and space. Like I said, we just unearthed a lot, so we're just gonna close with the somatic part. This is where we let it in. So I'm gonna have you just take a step back. I would actually invite you to push back from your screen a little bit. And we're gonna kind of go in reverse. I actually want you to look around your space. Just look around at the colors, at the textures. Just notice if anything catches your eye. A decoration, a symbol. And then I want you to bring your focus down into your lap and into your hands. Just noticing the hands, the pattern behind your hands, And then I want you to hold your left hand in your lap, face up, palm up. And just started to notice the space in between the hands, in between the fingers. Noticing how the space in between the fingers isn't separate from the space of your hand itself. Now noticing the space between the back of your hand and your legs. Just feeling into that space. Noticing how that space between your hand and your legs isn't separate from the space of your hand. And now from the center of your hand, I want you to just picture a circle, a sphere of energy and space around your left hand, moving around it. Just letting that space permeate. And now I'd like for you to place that hand on your heart. Just feel the heartbeat or your breath. You can keep the eyes open or closed. All of the love that you desire lives within here. This is your connection to the Divine Mother and the Mother within. This beautiful beating heart in this body and soul that you chose to come here at this time, in this place, for this healing. This is your lifeblood. This is your courage. This is where your inner mother resides and lives. Just thanking yourself and that part of yourself for just being present and showing up here today. Maybe honoring any intentions or future steps that you know you want to take. And then you can just release the hand and kind of come back. So we've definitely unearthed a lot, and like said, you can see how deep this goes. There will be many layers to this, and there will be many layers, insights, feelings, and emotions that are going to come up around this in the next few days, weeks, and moving forward. Also, as we journey through this Cancer season and this month ahead. But I want you to know that this, what we talked about today, this is the container to be held. Even touching on these parts is how we break the cycles. We go where it was not dared to go for us. And I do want to just encourage you that just as you're present with this journey, especially over the next month, know that you are supported with the healing energy of the Mother, of Cancer, of the Healer, of the Divine Mother. And know that you are moving over this threshold to meet this part of yourself in a way that is going to be more than you ever imagined. So that's what I have for today. One thing, the final thing I'll say, if you pull cards, we can go back to this past, present, future. That is a way for us to anchor in everything that we went over. A past, present, future spread is very helpful. So one for the past, one for the present, one for the future. That's exactly like where we landed and how we came into this space. You can do that now, you can do that on your own, but also throughout this journey, that past, present, future is going to be mirroring back to you and guiding you through this journey as well.
You don't have to wait on me, but I'm just doing it because we're here.
Well, I will close the circle and then I'll just hang, or we can chat for a minute here. So thanks for everybody watching replay, and let me know what questions you have. This will not be the last time we talk about this, especially as we walk through the next month together. And as always, sending you lots of love.